Sound design is one of the most inspiring things about making music, but if you find that you're stuck relying on presets with your synths, this video is probably going to really help you unlock the sensation of movement, adding character to those sounds that you're imagining in your head. When we try to make these songs with synths, we end up surfing through a lot of presets, and if you think about it, that can actually kind of slow down your creativity. You get kind of distracted, get fatigued, and then you kind of lose your momentum creatively. And you might have even noticed, like when you go to instruments, wavetable, pull it up, they're giving you basically this thing that you're moving around, right? Even with something like drift, which we get with Ableton intro, you just bought Ableton intro, you're messing around in it, you see shape and you're moving this around. You're like, wow, that's cool. I guess they're like giving me a whole spectrum of sounds. And you usually just kind of set it and forget it. It's such a typical thing that people do. And what's funny about it is that for the longest time, I would pull up Wavetable and I thought that I knew everything about synthesis. And I would just sit there and grab the oscillator position and just think of it as like a tone picker. So I'm like picking the tone that I want it to be, and I would just set it and forget it. And you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But kind of the whole point is you're making a filter move or you're making the wavetable move because you just get so many interesting effects. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. It's going to take a couple minutes and it's really fun and inspiring, the sounds that you're going to get out of it. And right off the bat, you can see here that like when you go to the shapes, so a lot of people will explore these shapes on Wavetable, for instance. You have these other drop-down menus. So you have like distortion, you have all these different drop-down menus within drop-down menus that you can explore. And they've recently updated this with more stuff like the instrument thing. That looks kind of new to me. I've gotten some great sounds from it. So right off the bat, a lot of people miss that. But even if I go to something simple like Saw Dual 1, I love this Wavetable for like kind of retro sounding effects. And what we can do is instead of just statically picking that oscillator position and sort of having it sit there, we can add movement to the sound. It's really easy to do. First, let me just set up our filter. So I'm going to add some resonance. I'm going to turn on the OSR. So I have the drive, add some drive, turn on the high pass or low cut some of the lows. It might not look like I'm doing a lot with the filter right now, but you're going to see in a second why. So let's set up our envelope, and our envelope, we're just going to bring that attack back to about 1.5 seconds. We're going to make that the decay kind of quicker, so like 150 milliseconds, bring the sustain up, and then about 3.5 seconds around that area for the release. So your envelope should look kind of like this. And now we can set up the mod matrix. So when you go to matrix, this little tab right here, you get this grid. This looks very confusing to people, but it's really easy to get started with it. And once you get started with how it works, it makes synthesis so much easier and fun. The big thing is that it's not going to give you everything you want right away. You have to click around the wavetable. So you'll see as I'm clicking, it's actually changing this matrix. So it's based on the last thing that you click. There's some default parameters, but it's based on the last thing that you clicked that you can change. So I'm going to click right here. This is my oscillator position, right? This is the thing that moves the position. And now you can see it over here as I wiggle it. I'm going to leave that at the top, but I can have the amp envelope. They give you all these things to modulate with, but I'm just going to use the amp envelope. You keep it real simple. I've got amp right there. So that's our amp envelope, right? The thing we just worked on. And I'm going to go to oscillator 1 position and pull it all the way down. So -100. What this is going to do, I'm going to hit a note. And when I hit the note, it goes through the wavetable. And when I let go of the note on my MIDI keyboard, actually, let me bring my MIDI keyboard up so you can see that in action. So as I hit the note, it cycles through, and whenever I let go of the note, because we added on that release on the envelope, when I let go of the note, wherever it is in the position, it's going to then release and go back. So it creates a really natural effect with your playing. Here I'm on polyphonic mode, so I can play a nice big chord. Now you can do the same thing with the filter. So I'm going to click on filter right here, and now you can see it's on my matrix. We'll pull it back, maybe not 100. Let's try like 70. Let's see what it does to the sound now. That's really cool, right? Now the filter is doing the same thing as the wavetable movement. Drifts through it, gets darker as I hold down. It lets go when I let go. So much more movement in the sound, right? Really interesting. And you can take this further, further, and further. Click on resonance. So I'll have more resonance. We'll call this 25. As I hold down it, the resonance increases as it does that filter sweep. That's really cool. So that little point is actually getting bigger through the sweep. Let's say we want to add drive. I'm just going to click on drive and there it appears. It even adds a little scroll bar now as it gets bigger and bigger. You can just keep adding different things to this matrix. Here's another cool thing you can do. I'm going to go to unison and I'm going to go to classic. If you've played around with wavetable before, you know this effect really creates a lot of nice stereoization and modulation to the sound. So it immediately sounds really cool, right? Just with that thing on. So it's probably in your headphones a lot more stereo, but you could also do this same thing with the amount. So if I click on amount, drag this down to 0, and have my amp envelope, just like it controls the filter, have it add on unison to the synth as I hold it down. So it adds on unison as it goes through the sweep. That's another really cool thing you can do. And another really cool technique with this stuff is that, let's say you have kind of a cool sound right now on your wavetable and it's moving the filter, moving the wavetable. By the way, feel free to just jump in and explore all these different menus, because what you've done now is you've given yourself the perfect permission to just hear what all these different wavetables are going to do. Right? It's like now you get to experience what wavetable is all about. And I had to make this video because I didn't know that this was a thing. And it kind of blew my mind when I first kind of figured it out. So I thought, put it in a video, because this is where things just get so inspiring, right? Let's say we have our sound. I want this to just sound older. I want it to sound more characterful. I want it to be kind of more, is that a word? I don't know. I want it to be more retro. Really simple way to do it is to add some vibrato to it. So what does that mean? If you haven't heard of vibrato, go to audio effects, go to chorus ensemble. It's kind of hidden in a way, just like doubler is kind of hidden. Drag and drop that over. Vibrato is the third option. Now, it's kind of a lot at 50%. So I think sometimes people might hit vibrato and be like, ugh, I don't like that, because it's kind of high. If you pull this back to like 25-ish% or 30%, for instance, you're going to get something that sounds like old and sort of unsteady sounding. So now it kind of has that sort of unsteadiness to it. It's a little less predictable in its pitch. That can go a really long way. And then you can just layer on your effects and you can have something really cool. Here you can see I got some other effects. So this is the cabinet, which does a great job at actually kind of almost band passing the sound of the synth. And then this preset hot driven tape, which is from the tube saturator plugin, I think it's called. You can just look that up, hot driven tape, and then the saturator. I just turn it up, but I pull the output back so my volume's under control. So now it's pretty old and crunchy sounding, right? So without that stuff, if I turn all this stuff off, right, and I just play a chord, hear how it sounds much more clear and pristine. So if you're going for that kind of retro effect, a lot of times messing with the pitch, mess with the fidelity, add some saturation, make it a little crunchy even, you can get a long way with that sort of retro sound. It sounds much older now, right? It's pretty cool. So yeah, just feel free to give it a try. I feel like a lot of people, they just don't realize that with the mod matrix, you can just click somewhere and change the sound, and you don't have to get in the weeds with all these other mod things. You just do it from your amp envelope, and like we did today, you just make a sound that's inspiring, right? You really get to hear the synth. You can make it sound old. If you want this preset, I'll link it down below. I make presets all the time with these videos for my Patreon members. They're the people that keep this whole thing alive and going, right? So that goes a really long way. The Patreon is a super cool place if you haven't checked it out. There's a whole course on vocal production, synthesizers. We're doing an audio engineering, like a mixing course right now. MIDI libraries, there's a drift preset library. So it's a massive resource for music producers. Really talented people are on there, by the way. We have a very talented, eclectic community of people. It's really cool. And super grateful for you guys. Thank you so much for your support. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button and subscribe. If you're watching on Patreon, hit the like button so I know that this was meaningful to you. We can figure out more ways to go deeper. And thank you guys so much for your support. Have fun making music.